What's up, everybody? Welcome back to this channel, Be For Real Podcast. It's your girl, B Octavia, and I am back with another one. Today, we will be talking about the Golden State Killer. But before we get into the Golden State Killer, let me just say that if you are not familiar with me, my name is B Octavia. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Washington, D.C., and I am an entrepreneur with my own business. I have a cosmetics and skincare company where I hand make everything out of love with various essential oils and just really all over therapeutic beauty. Getting right into what this video is about, I wanted to cover the Golden State Killer, aka Joseph James Deangelo. Now, I was about to say young man, this old man is 74 years old and he was born November 8th, 1945. Now, during his prime, instead of spending time with his family that you can't get back, instead of putting your all into your craft of, making a positive impact in this world, he was sexually assaulting women and all of the burglaries, the rapes. There were a total of 13 murders, 50 rapes, and over 120 burglaries across California between 1973 and 1986. So throughout this time, more than 10 years, that's 13 years, he was raping and killing, traumatizing, and altering people's lives just off of his own satisfaction that he needed. Now, the Golden State Killer, his identity as the serial rapist and serial killer, the world did not know who he was for a very long time. Actually, 20 plus years, people had no clue. It took a modern detective to use the advanced technology that is in this decade, and he put it to good use. He put the DNA from Deangelo into one of these sites like Ancestry or whatever. And they tell you the different relatives that you may or, that are a possibility to be your family. After doing that, the process of elimination happened, and they came up on Joseph James Deangelo. And this was 2017, 2018. So in 2018, they surveillanced Joseph James Deangelo, seen him put his trash out, and criminals, if you're a criminal, and especially of something that is greater than a misdemeanor or something, if you're a felon, a criminal, don't put your trash out on the street, right? Because the police, in the police's eyes, that is fair game. So that's exactly what Deangelo did. They took the trash, got a little snotty tissue or something, and matched up the DNA that they already had from victims. He left his nasty DNA. Ha ha. They took that DNA and they compared it to the DNA that they got out of his trash. One thing that I want to say about this is it's remarkable to me how people forget the most messed up things that they do to people, like murder, rape, robbing people. You really think that time is going to erase that? It is sad, though, that all of these 50 rapes are under a certain statute that these cases cannot be prosecuted. He cannot be found guilty under these charges because there is a statute of limitations. I feel like that should be lifted because he really has a problem, a big problem, a problem that a lot of people don't have. And I feel like that's why there hasn't been another Golden State Killer, or there hasn't been another Jeffrey Dahmer. And I could say ... yet. There hasn't been another one yet. There hasn't been a Jeffrey Dahmer reborn or a Golden State Killer reborn, and I don't want that. But my thing is, there isn't many people that are willing to go to the lengths that these people went to harm folks. You harming people, they got kids with them in a house. Everybody's defenseless, even the men, even the husbands. I spent a lot of time looking at the testimonies from different victims, and not only the victims that had to endure this rape, the victims that were bystanders, the children, the husbands that were defenseless. And it just floored me how sick. Like, you really got to think about that. That's a really sick individual to, for example, gag and bound a 3-year-old child, put the child somewhere so you can rape his mother. Who does that? The Golden State Killer, Joseph James Deangelo, will again. I don't buy this old ass man thing. You know what I'm saying? I do not buy that he is, he has to be in this wheelchair all the time. I don't buy any of it. It's kind of like the Ted Bundy approach. You want to look like you are injured or you are disabled so that people feel bad for you, and so that people make the decision that you want them to make, and you want them to set you free, right? Just because so much time has gone by, it does not mean that all of this shit can be erased. It can't be erased at all. It will never go away. It don't matter if you don't talk about it. It don't matter if nobody have asked you for 5 years, 10 years. That should be on your conscience, right? That's a lot of people that you hurt. And you went on to raise your family. Joseph James Deangelo is a former police, and that's mainly how he knew how to do a lot of things. How he knew how to elude police because he was a police, And there were talks of him maybe having a military background or being police, but nobody looked into that. I wonder why that is. And my question is, did any of you have visions as police officers? See, a lot of people have the question, did the wife know? Did she see signs? If she wanted to. But you got to remember the times. 19, what is that? When he actually, let me see. You got to remember the times, right? So in 1973 is when he got married to his wife. And in them times, I'm sure, as it continued through the 80s and the 90s, women wanted a sense of security to the point where if they seen something, they would look the other way. They would ignore signs until they couldn't see the signs anymore. Not that they weren't there, just it's like a smoke screen. If the man is paying for the house or apartment, paying for the car that you're driving, paying for the food that you and your kids eat, especially back then, a lot of women were good with that. A lot of women wouldn't question a man coming in at this time and that time or leaving at this time and that time. So I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't see signs because she probably wasn't looking. I would want to hear of her side, and maybe we will hear that down the road. Maybe once he's dead. I don't know what she could be waiting on or whatever. Maybe she does not want to talk because she's ashamed of him, or maybe she doesn't want to talk because she did know. As of 2019, they were still married. I don't know if they are divorced now because it just says to 1973 to 2019. Ironically, he got married in 1973, and that is when these crimes started. I'm so very glad of how this case is going, and I only say that because I didn't see any of the victims of Ted Bundy really speaking out, and having this opportunity to just take their time and get out everything that they want to say. I didn't see that. I feel like in Ted Bundy's case, he was the main focus, and mainly because he wanted to be the focus. And I'll get into Ted Bundy in another video, but I feel like Jeffrey Dahmer's case was kind of, some family members did get out what they had to say, which is great. But I feel like in today's time, it just has advanced even more. And I'm glad that they didn't let COVID stop them from actually holding this, because he needs to be held accountable ASAP. People have waited over 40 years. That's half of my life. Over 40 years for him to be found and for him to be held accountable. And that's what they deserve. They deserve a check too. I believe so. Because, I mean, just what they described, I can't even imagine being in the position that they was in. I try to put myself in people's positions all the time, and I couldn't imagine, being alone. I couldn't imagine having my husband there, he can't help. I couldn't imagine having my child there and I can't help, or the dad can't help. I can't imagine how that messes with you throughout the years, and I'm glad that he knows exactly how they feel. I don't know if he cares. I personally don't think he cares, because if he had even the ounce, like an ounce of, even if he had a speck of a conscience, he would have either told somebody about what he did, or he would have went to police himself. So I wish him nothing but bad. It was one testimony from the husband of a victim, and he was a victim himself. And he basically set out this fantasy of how his prison experience is supposed to go, like a fantasy football team. He did that in James Deangelo's case, right? And I really love that testimony, because it would really be the exact punishment that you set out on so many people. You have to have the same thing done to you. Honestly, the death penalty is too good to criminals. It's too good to serial killers. Ted Bundy, while evil, should have spent the rest of his life in hell. I seen a video of him I seen a video of him talking to the judge and talking about the conditions in prison, and you kill people. My guy, you kill people. So you don't deserve any ounce of anything good in prison for murder, for rape. It all comes full circle. And there is death penalty still put in place in certain states, which I respect. I can't do nothing but respect it if it's in place. When it does get put out of place, then we'll talk about that. But he deserves to spend the rest of his life, if that's going to be 30 years, if it's going to be 20, if it's going to be 10. Don't matter to me. He deserves to live in hell, live in fear, go through agony, and feel the pain, feel the anxiety that your victims have felt this whole time. It's only right. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to be cautious and conscious of how we are affecting people. It doesn't matter your sexual desires or urges. That shouldn't your sexual desires and urges shouldn't come at the cost of hurting somebody. It shouldn't come at the cost of killing someone. If it does, you should seek help. If you do have those thoughts are wrong, even if you're trying to rationalize things. And thank you guys for and overall learn from this savage that no deed that is this fucked up, excuse my language, goes unnoticed and goes unpunished. You will get found, and justice will lay its hand on your back. It's your girl, B. Octavia, and I will see y'all in the next episode, which will be next Thursday. Make sure that you check out my business, Crush on You Beauty, and I will see y'all in my next video.